Time now for a winning streak of our own, and who better to do it than the heart of the lineup? CBS Sports Vegas insiders Todd Fuhrman and Kenny White joining us now. Gentlemen, it's always my pleasure. Let's start with the all-LA clash. It's going to be Clayton Kershaw opposite Dylan Bundy, with Kershaw coming off one of the shortest starts of his career, giving up 4 in the first against the Cubs last week, and that was that. Todd, we're getting plus money on the home side against the struggling Dodgers club. How do you want to play it?
Well, you mentioned it, Joe. Both of these teams have been a disappointment over the last couple of weeks. The Angels finally breaking that long losing skid, while the Dodgers, they just can't seem to get out of their own way. And one of the biggest culprits has been pitching that's more or less been non-existent. When you look at the Dodgers surrendering 35 runs over the last 7 games, and as you talked about, Clayton Kershaw, the last time we saw him on the bump, lasted just 1 inning at Wrigley Field, had some problem with the mound conditions, tossed 39 pitches, and removed himself, so to speak, from that contest. Kershaw will be making his first start on 3 days rest since the postseason back in 2016. So you do worry a little bit how he'll rebound here, but he's got the heart of a champion and that mentality, and I think that bodes well here for him in this particular spot against an Angels offense that's lacked some punch other than last night. Meanwhile, on the other side, Dylan Bundy, you look at some of his numbers this season, he's poised for regression in the positive fashion. 5 out of his last 6 starts have been of the quality variety, and I think both of these pitchers will have some success early on. I want to take the bullpens out of the equation. I'm going to go under 4.5 in the first 5 innings.
Todd, I like that. I think Kershaw will respond well in this game, so I like your play there. I'm playing the Angels. I played them last night. This is a derby game, rivalry. Getting a plus price with a good baseball team. I think the Angels are a very good baseball team. They're a team that I thought would win the West last year and this year. And Dylan Bundy's one of the big reasons why. I think this guy's a horse. He's right now averaging a career high 10 strikeouts per 9 and a career low walks per 9. So those two numbers, those two categories are very, very big on my ratings. He's been great the last 2 outings. Last 4 outings, he's been 50 cents above an average big league pitcher. The Angels lineup starting to click a little bit, and I thought they might with Pujols not in the lineup. It's basically really was dragging them down. A shame to see the Hall of Famers still trying to play through it and just couldn't hit big league pitching at this point. I think they're far better off right now. I'll take the Angels plus this price.
All right, so Kenny White's taking that plus money on the home side, and also looking for the Dodgers skid to continue the season-high 4-game losing streak. They're 14-4. After starting super hot. Best team in baseball, 13-2 through 15 games, and it's just been the flip side of that coin as of late. We think of this lineup being one that mashes, but just 11 runs during the losing streak as opposed to 26 for their opponents. The Phillies and the Braves will go at it in Game 2 of their 3-game set, with the Game 1 going the way of Philly, These two teams, they've met 7 times already this season, 5 of those culminating in Phillies victories, no less. Braves are getting the edge from the odds makers today. Total set at 9. Kenny White, what do you want to do with it?
Yeah, I'm going to go over the 9 here in this one. 4-0 over when they're playing in Atlanta, but it has everything to do with probably Vince Velasquez. Now, in his last start, he was actually fabulous, and he was getting ready to be pulled from the rotation, but overall, Vince Velasquez is an average big league pitcher. Braves lineup, I have number 3 in baseball versus right-handed pitching. This is Ian Anderson's 3rd start versus the Phillies in almost 40 days. So they've seen him enough now to know him. The familiarity is big for the offense. I'll take it over 9.
You know, Kenny, I'm right there with you. When you break this game down and you look at the Phillies busting out last night to the tune of 12 runs and a season-high 16 hits, a lot of that's aided by getting the likes of Bryce Harper back in the lineup, Gene Segura. This team goes 7 or 8 deep, doesn't allow for a whole lot of easy opportunities. What I like most about the total, in addition to some of the points Kenny made, both of these pitchers not afraid to issue free passes. You look at Ian Anderson, he's issued 11 walks through his last 4 starts, walking almost 4 batters per 9 innings. Meanwhile, on the other side, Vince Velasquez, his numbers off the charts in terms of issuing those same free passes. He's produced a strand rate so far this season, in my opinion, that's not sustainable. The Phillies still working on getting him stretched out. And honestly, if Velasquez can't go 6 strong, I'll take my chances every single day of the week with this Phillies bullpen. I'm going right over the total with Kenny as well.
All right, elsewhere, the Diamondbacks and the Mets will offer some evening entertainment at Citi Field. Friday night produced Francisco Lindor's biggest moment as a Met thus far, a game-tying 2-run shot in the 7th that ultimately led to a Mets 3rd straight victory. Do they keep a good thing going here through the weekend?
They're a good possibility they might, but not a lot of pitching here today. I think it's going to be Joey Lucchesi, the lefty for the Mets, and Arizona right now, #1 in baseball, 858 OPS versus left-handed pitching. So I'm going to go over here. I think the Mets bats rank top 5 in baseball. The numbers don't show that now, but they will at the end of the year. It's a team that just hasn't hit. Hitting is contagious. 3 wins in a row. Bats are starting to come around. Merrill Kelly's been awful. 6 starts, 1 good one out of 6. I could see another bad start from him today. So hoping Lucchesi starts. They haven't named a starter, but he's supposed to get the bulk of the work. Again, Arizona just been destroying left-handed pitching. I'm going to go over the 8 here.
All right, the top 2 teams in the NL West will meet in the Bay when the Giants and Padres do battle. Joe Musgrove was shoving to start the season, has since cooled off a bit, including giving up 5 to the Giants last Sunday. Padres slight favorites again in this spot. Kenny, what piques your interest in this one?
Yeah, Joe, you're right. Musgrove has come back to earth just a little bit. He's having the best season of his career by far. And even as he's done that, Kevin Gausman has been 40 cents better to the betting line than Musgrove has been. So this is the far better pitcher, Kevin Gausman, in this game. 2.04 ERA, and the offense for the Giants right now ranking slightly higher than the Padres. I've got the Giants 13th versus right-handed pitching. Padres coming in at 18th right now in OPS. So Kevin Gausman's just been ridiculous. And this is a guy that I loved when he was with Baltimore, but they just did not know how to fix him once he got into a funk. Atlanta started to get him to get to the right spot, but it was the Giants last year that finally tuned Kevin Gausman. This guy has great stuff. He's one of the top 10 pitchers in Major League Baseball. And he's finally showing it. And I'm going to continue to ride him till he doesn't.
You know, Kenny mentioned Kevin Gausman and some of unrealized potential that he's finally scratching the surface on now as a member of the Giants. But I look at this particular price, and as good as he's been, I worry about him being a prime regression candidate. The ERA not supported necessarily by some of the peripheral metrics. He did get pushed back in his last start, some side effects from the vaccine, according to the Giants. And when you look at the San Diego Padres team, you mentioned Joe Musgrove not going deep in games, had arguably his worst start last time we saw him on the bump. But Jace Tingler's been relatively conservative. He's only tossed 8 innings since April 19th. He hasn't exceeded 96 pitches in any of those starts. Now, the Giants will get Mike Yastrzemski back, or are expected to. You look at Buster Posey, he's probably the exact opposite of Albert Pujols, experiencing career renaissance right now, exceeding his home run total back in 2019 after sitting out last year because of family issues surrounding the pandemic. But as this number continues to trend down, I think it's the perfect opportunity to buy low on Musgrove, and I think Gausman comes back to earth a little bit. He's not a pitcher I'm going to fade often, but I will in this spot and hope Fernando Tatis can bust out of this prolonged slump of his.
Yeah, Giants fans were expecting to maybe see a top prospect Joey Bart at some point this season, but Posey says not so fast. As you said, a bit of a renaissance here for the veteran. Really nice pitching matchup on the other side of the Bay Bridge as well. That goes Frankie Montas and Tyler Glass now. Glass has been anything but, going 6+ innings in all but one of his 7 starts this season. Hence a hint of plus money here on the A's this evening. Todd, who gets the edge?
For me, I'm not even going to bother trying to find an angle to attack a particular side here. I'm going to go under the total at 7.5. You mentioned Tyler Glass now, and one of the big knocks on him was getting deep into games. Well, that hasn't really been a concern so far this season, and we know the Rays bullpen is well above average. The Rays did snap a 5-game win streak yesterday, dropping that decision 2-1. Both starters going deep in the game. I like the fact we'll have rested bullpens working in our favor. Now, Tyler Glass now struggled, probably the most he has in a single start, struggling with command a little bit against the Halos the last time we saw him. But the one nice luxury you have in this particular matchup going under the total, these two teams amongst the worst in the American League when it comes to striking out. Glasnow's just got to keep the ball in the zone, make the A's do the lion's share of the work. Meanwhile, on the other side, Frankie Montas hasn't been great, but this is a guy that's got stuff that's well above average, and I continue to think that he's going to get stronger as the season goes on. You look at his ERA, suggests he's got a little bit of room for improvement in that particular department. I think we're talking about a ball game played to the tune of 3-2. I'm going under 7.5.
Well, this is one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball right now, current form. Tyler, I'm going to call him Gas now because there's no L in this number.
Very
it's
nice.
going to be a W for It's going to be a W for Tyler Gass now because he just gasses everybody up. His last outing against Oakland, the time before, 7 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts. And again, familiarity helps hitters, but this is just the second time, and this is the 22nd best lineup in baseball versus right-handed pitching. So yeah, Todd, you're not going to get any runs out of the A's today, so that's good for your under. I worry about your under because Frankie Montas he's got a high ceiling and potential, but that just means he hasn't done anything yet. Last 3 starts, 16 innings, 22 hits, and 12 earned runs he's allowed. So far this year, he's pitched 5 cents below the average big league pitcher. He's slightly below average versus one of the best pitchers in baseball, and the Rays have the better lineup. The numbers say this game should be the Rays minus 210, not 140. Give me the Rays all day today.
All right, let's take another look at those plays. Somebody tell Kenny White I'm stealing gas now. No L in that name. He's going with Tampa Bay in that matchup. Todd's playing it under the 7.5. Dodgers and Angels out west. Kenny likes the Angels to take another one off of the Dodgers, who are struggling 4-14 over the last 18. Todd's taking the bullpens out of the equation. First 5 play it under. Phillies and Braves, both of our guys, we're looking for consensus like that over the 9. And then there's Splitsville when it comes to Padres and Giants. We will get the Saturday action started with the Nats and the Yanks in the Bronx. Now that we have a bit of a sample size to look at, guys, the Yankee splits starting to tell a bit of a story. The club's 4-10 this season in day games, 12-6 under the lights. Kenny, any proof in that pudding when you do the homework on this one?
Yeah. Some teams like hitting better at nighttime. You get more sleep. They're more rested. Maybe they stay out all night. I'm gonna play the side here. I'm just gonna take a plus price with Max Scherzer anytime I can. He is pitching right now, I think, lights out. 2.54 ERA. Now the metrics say his xFIP of 3.35. A little bit more around where his career xFIP is, but struggles from the Yankee bats all season long. I don't think get better today against Scherzer. Kluber's been tremendous. His last 2 starts finally looks like he is back to where he was. The problem is his fastball's still 3 miles an hour down from when he was a Cy Young Award winner from the Indians. So I'm still not completely sold on Kluber. So give me Max Scherzer, who I think is the better pitcher at this point, plus a price.
You know, Kenny, I went back and forth on this game, wanted to try and make a strong case for the Nats, understand completely where you're coming from on the dog. All the things you mentioned with Corey Kluber was what ultimately led me to going over the total here. I know the conditions aren't going to be ideal at Yankee Stadium. Game time temps expected to be in the mid-50s. And these 2 bullpens have been well above average so far this season. Plus, you throw in the fact that Aaron Judge is struggling a little bit at the dish, makes it a tougher pill to swallow. But I look at this total at 8, and I think Corey Kluber has done some of what he's been able to achieve so far this season with smoke and mirrors. I watched the better part of his last start. I think that it had much to do with the Detroit Tigers' offensive woes than it did Corey Kluber regaining some of that Cy Young stuff. Kenny talked about the drop in velocity. Kluber's strikeout numbers have not been great this season. If you back out the 10 against Detroit, walk rate a little bit higher than you'd expect. And Max Scherzer, while he was dominant against the Miami Marlins, I think the Yankees can get to him for maybe 2 or 3 runs, which will do just enough to put this game over the total. I know the money's come in against me this morning, but at 8, I have to go over. I think the Nats, especially with a healthy Juan Soto back in the lineup, as we saw that power display yesterday, a little bit more dynamic offensively than they're currently being priced.
All right, gentlemen, fantastic cliff notes throughout, but we need your very best. Todd Fuhrman, I'll go your way first here for your best bet out of the bigs on Saturday.
Well, we talked about the A's and Rays, and Kenny mentioned Tyler Glasnow and how good he's been. Well, I hope he goes complete game shutout here to give me some breathing room if Frankie Montas struggles. But I'm going to go under 7.5 in this one. When I look at this A's lineup, I think they're in for a long day at the dish against Tyler. And the fact that he was able to fight through that start against the Angels showed me a lot about his maturity. I think this is a guy that's able to get through games with only secondary stuff. And when he's got his best stuff working, forget about it. You may as well go up there with a wiffle ball bat. Meanwhile, on the other side, Frankie Montas, yes, he hasn't been great, 12 earned runs allowed through 16, but this Rays lineup doesn't scare me a ton. I think Tampa can scratch across 3 or 4. Glasnow keeps Oakland in check. Game comes in under 7.5.
My MLB parlay of the day, Tampa Bay Rays got to be in it. Best play of the day. I'm going to go with Houston also today. Christian Javier has been ridiculously good, and the Houston Bats versus left-handed pitching, top 5 in baseball. Add in the Giants today with Kevin Gausman. No regression in the mean for him today, Todd. Gausman will deal once again. This guy is, I'm telling you, he is top 10 major league stuff. He's actually got a shot to win, I think, the Cy Young Award this year. That's how good he is. No regression in the mean. He will just continue to get better.
A top play parlay. Where else can you get it? Kenny White, Todd Fuhrman, always on the money. Thank you, fellas.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.